Hello everyone, Bradley Sword here, and today's video is going to take a look at this Pokemon fad that's been sweeping the nation. My goodness, how long has Pokemon been around? Maybe a couple months now? You know, that's something like, it's been 20 years, I get that. But it's one of those things I never really paid too much attention to, and then my kid brought it home over summer camp, and then he's collecting like everybody else, and I was just curious, one of these cards popped up, and I'm like, well, what is the expected value? So I'm metagaming my kid's Pokemon collection. But it was curious, and I was thinking this is a good case study, to see how a child might react to a Pokemon card versus the actual mathematics behind the card itself. So let's take a look at this card, and let's just kind of go from there, and let's see how we can solve this problem with various trains of thought. Okay, so I'm told it's pronounced Gyarados, which isn't how I would pronounce that, but that's okay. But my feelings on this matter are very much irrelevant. And so Gyarados has this attack called Wreak Havoc, and it says to flip a coin over and over and over again until you get a tails. And this is just a normal, just a plain old fair two-sided coin. And so for every heads you flip until you reach that tails, discard the top two cards of your opponent's deck. So this could really wreak havoc on your opponent's deck, especially if they need cards to be able to, continue playing the game. So theoretically, all it takes is one go at this, and you could exhaust the entire deck of your opponent and win the game. And so I asked my 7-year-old, this is like the first thing you could do before we even get into any true mathematics, is just kind of just spitball it and go, well, what do you expect the value to be? And I did ask him this afternoon. I go, well, how many cards do you expect your opponent to flip over when you play this card? And he thought about it, and he said, definitely about 4. And so your mileage may vary. Mine did not go with 4. I'm not going to give away what I thought it was because it was pretty close, if not the correct answer, depending on your perspective. But this definitely plays a role in how especially if you don't do the true mathematics behind the cards, is like, are the cards that you play, whether this is Pokemon or Magic or any other card game, anything like that, like, are you getting the true results of these cards that you think you are? And so I think it's an interesting case study. So we're going to take a look at this first from the eyes of me as a computer scientist, someone who doesn't have I have a decent math background, but I definitely don't know how to do proofs, and I definitely don't know how to do a lot of the cool stuff that all the mathematicians. So one thing as a computer scientist that we're generally good at is we're good at doing what's called a Monte Carlo simulation. So we're approximating reality. And so as we approximate reality, we're not going to get the exact results a mathematician can. But in this case, it's just a Pokemon card. I don't need to have exact values, but this will definitely, shed some light into the understanding of what the card can actually do for me. So this is the representation in Python of one round of this Wreak Havoc. Basically flip a coin until it comes up tails. This randomization gives me either a heads or a tails, a 0 or a 1. And as long as I keep flipping a 0, I'll keep adding 2 to the number of cards, and I will return that value when I finally fall out of this loop when I hit my tails. And so that's how we would wreak havoc with one round, and then I just did this a million times over. And then at the end, I just print it out. And in this case, a million times over gets me a result just around 2, which is what I was expecting it to be. My son said 4. I was thinking about 2, which just means on average, you're going to flip a coin one time before you flip a tails, because half the time you're going to flip a heads and half the time you're going to flip a tails. So half the time you're going to end without doing any havoc at all, and half the time you're going to do at least 2 cards of damage to your opponent's deck there. So that's one way to solve this, and now continuing that understanding, we can kind of move toward a different way of solving this that doesn't just revolve around just continually playing a simulation over and over and over and over and over again until we get something that's close to the value that we might expect. So there are definitely ways we can get away from all the brute force methodologies that we just kind of looked at here in the last example. And so this is kind of like a flow chart. We can kind of get a feel for what's going on, and we can turn this flow chart into code if we wanted to. But I think the next step would be kind of to set up an Excel worksheet before we finally finish up and do some cool little math to show how it, to get to the true answer here. So when I wreak havoc, I'm going to flip a coin. Half the time it's going to be tails, and I'm going to end up not making making my opponent do anything. And then half the time they're going to flip a heads. I'm going to flip a heads, and I'm going to be in a point where I'm going to do at least 2 damage to my opponent's deck of cards. But basically, every flip of the coin is independent of every other flip, presuming that the coin is a fair coin. And so every flip of the coin, half the time I'm going to flip a heads, and now this time around I'm going to get a 2. And then half the time I'm going to get here, and then with the tails I get a 4. Or half the time I come down here, and now I flip a coin and I get 6. And so forth and so on. So the mathematics behind this is saying that half the time I'm going to get a 0, a quarter of the time I'm going to get a 2, an eighth of the time I'm going to get a 4, a 16th of the time I'm going to get a 6, a 32nd of the time I'm going to get an 8, and so forth and so on. And you can kind of see where this is going if you have a mathematics background. We basically have an infinite series in which we're going to basically build off of, and hopefully, and we'll be able to see what the true expected value of this is supposed to be. Oh yes, I have forgotten to mention that I have blown my entire CGI budget on Pokemon cards. That's why I'm using a programming language and Excel to do my bidding here, my busy work here, instead of some of the cool stuff you guys can see from other videos. But anyway, so now you can see with that understanding from the flow chart from a couple seconds ago on your end, I could say, like, for every flip of the coin, I go, well, okay, if I flip the coin and I get tails immediately, half the time I'm going to give up no cards. And then a quarter of the time I'm going to get 2 cards, and so forth and so on. We kind of discussed this. So on this end, every flip of the coin is basically just the previous number of cards plus 2. You can see that this thing is going up by 2 every time. And the probability is being reduced by half each time. So this time, this is a half, this is a quarter, an eighth, 16th, 32nd, 64th, 1/28th, and so forth and so on. And as long, this is using a double, most likely under the hood, double floating point value using the IEEE 754 standard. So I don't think we have to worry too much about anything. Just the representation of the number on the screen is going to be a little off, especially as we get smaller and smaller. But you can see that we're approaching a number, and we're approaching that same number that we were approaching through the simulation, and that was 2. And so this is just through 13 flips of the coin, and I don't know. Let's just see. I mean, of course, we should get, as we keep going and get more and more and more and more and more. You can see, there we go. So we hit the 2 right around exactly at 27 flips of the coin. We finally get the last little snippet in there, so that we can say that on average, if we play this game, that we get ourselves to 2 cards per wreaking of havoc. And so the final step here would be saying that, of course, this is still approximation. This isn't a proof by any means. And so now the question is, can we mathematically prove everything that we've just been showing here using statistics and Excel and computer science and Monte Carlo simulation? And of course, the answer. So now we're going to take this flow chart, we're going to take this spreadsheet, and we're going to look at this and we go, we could essentially flip heads forever. It's not likely, but mathematically it is very much a possibility. It is essentially 0, but it is a possibility. And so we have what is called an infinite series, and so we can convert this into that. And I have this here listed. This is the mathematics behind it. So this is a summation. This is from goes from 0 to infinity. Basically, we're just kind of reducing that entire spreadsheet into this basic formula here. And so remember that the number of cards was 2 times the number of flips it took to get to the tails. So of course, if I flip a head, or if I flip a tails immediately, I'm going to have 0 possibility, or 0 cards given out for half the time, because this is going to be 2 to the first power. So 0 divided by 2. But then when this thing is a 1, this is going to be 2 divided by 2 squared. So this is going to be a half. And then this is going to be 6 divided by 8, and so forth. And I think it's 6 divided by 8. And so forth and so on. And so this is basically the mathematical formula. And when I did this and I looked it over, I go, hey, I can remove a 2 from this thing. just by doing some extra fancy math. And this is the formula that we end up with, where this is the summation of I from 0 to infinity of I divided by 2 to the I. And so now with this understanding this mathematical formula, we can actually summate the infinite series and get a legitimate integer value out of this thing. We can get the 2 directly out of this thing. Okay, so here is the infinite series kind of spread out. Basically, your spreadsheet kind of put into pure mathematics. So x is going to be the result of this entire summation, and so it's going to be equal to, we can look at it over here, 0 plus a half, plus another half, plus 3/8, plus a quarter, plus 5 30-seconds, plus 6 64ths, and 7 1/28ths, and it would just continue on, so forth and so on forever. And this doesn't prove anything, just like this doesn't necessarily prove anything either. So in this case, we have to kind of figure out how can we take an infinite series and figure out what the end result is going to be. And we can't necessarily use all the easy infinite series, geometric series, like formulas for this, because we have it's a little trickier when we're adding, the numerator side of things is I, and not just some straight up hard-coded constant number. So what am I going to do? Let's take a look. So if this quantity is what x would be, then if we were just to say what would half x be, well, it would just be every term just multiplied by 1/2 or divided by 2. So what I can do here is to basically set up a second part here and say, well, half x is equal of the same thing is equal to this, to the 2 to the I plus 1 power, and you can see how everything is just this with a multiplied by 1/2 on the bottom here. You can see the same terms are going to line up, and they will from 0 to infinity. They will all line up and have the same proportions. And so what does that mean for us? You'll see, and it's pretty cool when it comes together here. Combining the two previous statements, I could say x minus 1/2 x is going to be equal to this infinite series minus that infinite series. You can see I just did the first few terms here, but you can again see this is basically the infinite number of terms here, and this is basically the infinite number of terms here on the tail end of this. So I'm going to take all this and subtract all this off, and when I do that, you're going to see it simplifies greatly. Simplifying the left-hand side of the equation, x minus 1/2, that's just 2 halves minus 1/2, so 1/2 x on the left-hand side. And now all I've really done is just kind of group some of these terms together. And so all I'm doing is moving around the terms inside of here. I'm not doing anything more, no jiggery pokery or anything like that. So I start with 0 plus 1/2, but then I go, okay, what about this 2/4, which is a half, but just 2/4 minus 1/4. And you go, well, that together would be 1/4. And then what about the next term would be 3/8. When you go 3/8 minus 2/8. And there you go, that's an eighth. And then how about, you don't see it here, but 4/16 minus 3/16. That'll be 1/16. And you see where the pattern is coming from, and now, or going at least, and now this is 1/32, 1/64, 1/128, and so forth and so on. And so reducing this into this series of infinite terms into a different series of infinite terms, you get yourself with 1/2 x equals 0 plus a half plus a quarter plus an eighth, and so forth and so on. And lo and behold, what do we know the limit of that is? That is basically 0.99999 repeating. In essence, we get ourselves proving that this infinite series sums to 1. And I will leave, I've always wanted to say this, I just think it's just a funny thing. The remainder of the proof is left as an exercise for the reader to figure out what the true value of x is supposed to be in this final equation for this problem. So there you have 3 pretty different approaches to solving such, what feels like such a simple word problem of I flip a coin. Every time I flip a coin, I take 2 cards away. What am I expecting to see on a turn-by-turn basis? And so just to kind of refresh here, we looked at 3 completely different ways of doing things, and we've got ourselves basically the brute force method. Then we got a little smarter, and we moved away from Python code, moved into an Excel worksheet, or something that can kind of work the numbers out, and mathematically speaking, and then we turned that understanding into this bunch of symbols over here, be able to use an infinite series to figure out and work ourselves down to a proof that the answer just isn't, it's not just 2, maybe, it's 2 for sure. So thanks for sticking it out with me, as always. I had a fun time making this video, and I hope you had a fun time watching this, those of you who made it this far. So thanks again, everybody. I hope to have another video as soon as I can. Have a good one. Take care.